everyone, and welcome to Season 3, The Voice of Luxury. My name is Lucy Challenger, and I am the CEO and founder of Polo and Tweed. And I am honoured today to welcome the beautiful Cony Faine. Cony, hello, how are you?
Thank you, beautiful. I'm very well. I'm very excited to be part of this. And I'm very looking forward to see what's going to unfold today. Yes.
Now, for everyone tuning in and listening, Cony and I met a while ago in the Netherlands. And I thought, Cony, what would be a lovely way to start this chat today is for you to tell all our listeners and watchers a little bit about yourself, your background, and bring us up to the current day where you find yourself now with your career and your life path.
Beautiful. Well, at the moment, actually, I'm working for a beautiful company that is called the Inner Shift Institute. We work with the medicine of psilocybin, and we do individual retreats and group retreats, and that's how we met, Lucy and I. And I'm also a psychologist, so I do therapy, normal psychotherapy, and I do a lot of things actually. So now I have my certificate of somatic dance therapist as well. So I do somatic dancing, and I'm a Reiki master, so I do energy healing. Yeah, massage, everything. Yeah.
And so
But
were
actually,
you
now I'm much more focused in the psilocybin. Yeah.
Okay, the psilocybin is the main focus. And were you
So
always interested in these things, obviously from a psychological perspective, but how did you first start exploring these spiritual but also energetic worlds?
I was always, since I was like 16, 15 years old, very interested in how the mind worked. I saw a lot of people with a lot of mental disease around me. And so I was like very interested, like how people are so-called normal and how people are, developing all these pathologies, no? So I was very interested to work on that. So when I was 18 years old, as soon as I get out of the high school, I went to the university to study psychology. And I studied in Chile because I'm originally from Chile. And I was there studying 6 years and a half. And then, I always felt like psychology itself was not enough for me. I had a big kind of like burnout of my office in psychology. I was one of the head officers of the human and resources area of a big company. So I was doing all this headhunting and interviewing people, and I was not fulfilling my heart at all. And I wanted a change. And then I had this massive breakup with my partner by then, and I was very depressed, very depressed. And then one of my cousins, she showed me yoga. So then I went to yoga. I was really hesitating to go to yoga. It was very trendy at the moment, and I didn't like any of the trendy stuff. And I was like, no, everyone is doing yoga. I'm not doing that. And then I decided to go. And in my first yoga class, I remember that we were doing a lot of back bends, no? And then I heard something click in my heart. And I was like, wow, what was that? I arrived home and I remember that I was just crying and crying and crying. I had the most beautiful, amazing experience with my body. I was always numb with my body. I never could feel my body. And the relationship that I had with myself was not the best. I was very much into toxic relationships and, not very healthy patterns. So then yoga kind of like opened another part of me. And I was like, wow, what is this? So, I could really feel my heart. I could really feel all the grief that I was holding back. I always looked at this tough woman, independent. So I was never very in touch with my emotions. I was doing that for others because I was psychology, but I was not really in touch within myself, no? So then the yoga opened this little door for me to explore my spirituality, my emotional body as well, my energetic body. And then I decided to quit my job. And after a year, I was in India, immersed in this teacher training, 900 hours, 3 months and a half living in an ashram, very humble, in the middle of Mumbai. And then, I decided to stay another year in India while I was there because I loved it. And I think that was my first connection with the spiritual world, and that's where I felt like home for first time in my life.
Mm.
And then I moved to New Zealand, and then I started working more with energetics, and I received my Reiki initiation, and then all the upgrades until Reiki master. Continue working as a psychologist and a yoga teacher, and yeah, but there was something missing, and then I discovered within myself because another partner by then he invited me to Peru, and I was not so much into plant medicine at all. I always had this fear of losing control. I always control everything in my life. So I was like, I didn't do any hallucinogenics at all, never in my life. So I was kind of like, again, hesitating to go there. But when I was there, we met this wonderful guy that he recommended us to go to his shaman. So we went there, and I had my first experience with plant medicine. It was directly with ayahuasca, and that opened another huge portal into what is really love. And I was always looking outside, like I want people to love me. I didn't know why. I was always like in these toxic relationships or not very healthy relationships, and I was always searching outside that love, no. And then the medicine showed me look inside, and then I had this big encounter with what is really unconditional love, and I was drawn into my own love, and it felt just like, yeah. So I was like, there's so much that we can access with this medicine, and yeah, there's so much stored in the subconscious that I was not able to see with all the therapy and everything that I was doing, the yoga, the healing, everything, but there was something missing, and that was the medicine. Ayahuasca gave me that door. So
Mm.
I opened the door, and I was like, I need to do this for others as well. Same as what I started doing with the yoga. I wanted to do that for others as well as for myself. And then with the plant medicine. But I knew that ayahuasca was not my medicine to share with others because it's, for me, it's very sacred, and I would leave it to the indigenous in the Amazons or yeah, wherever it comes from as well, not just from the Amazons in Peru, but also Brazil or Colombia and many other countries in South America. But then in New Zealand, the mushrooms found me, and yeah, we had a beautiful connection with psilocybin. And here, I decided to dedicate much more myself when I was here in Portugal, like around 6 years ago, 7 years ago, to really dedicate myself to give this a chance for others. And then I received the invitation from one of my best friends here to hold space for him with the psilocybin, and that was my first experience holding space for someone, and it was a very deep and profound, beautiful experience for him and for myself, and that's when everything started. Yeah.
And did you find that with your own process that you talk about connecting with that profound love within yourself and that healing that comes from that, was that an important process that you had to go through in a way to deal with your own, aspects? I mean, we all have problems that we are, not problems, but aspects of our life that we want to continuously work on if we are looking to evolve in some form. Did you find that there was a lot of work that needed to be done initially on yourself inwards before you could start helping people, or was it immediate that you felt this calling that you wanted to transfer this to other people in your life?
Mm, I think it was a mix of both. I think I was like very kind of shocked with what I experienced, and I really wanted to everyone. Like I was like aiming for my family to have this medicine. Everyone that I knew, like I would love to invite them to have this medicine. Not me giving them, but to have the experience of having plant medicine and to encounter these subconscious aspects that we carry within us that we cannot see with these normal eyes, no? It's very hard or takes years or maybe, yeah, much more than years. And yeah, so throughout that experience, I had few moments and few other moments as well with more exploration within myself, and it took me a few years to start doing it myself.
Mm.
And that was when my friend invited me. So it took me big, maybe 6 or 5 years doing my inner work as well, and finding profound, yeah, experiences within that inner work.
Mm.
Yes, allowed me to be ready to hold the space for the other, I would say, in a responsible and ethical way as well.
Well, and you
Yeah.
mentioned the sort of the calling to ayahuasca versus the plant medicine of the mushroom. What can you expand on that a little bit more? Because perhaps, you know, if people don't know the difference between the two or understand what things are rooted in, you know, why did you feel that there was a calling more to one than the other?
It was, well, the ayahuasca came to me magically, I would say. No, I was not aiming for it, but it came to me. So I received it. And mushrooms, they were always available. Yeah. And that's happening also everywhere in the world. I would say, like, ayahuasca grows in some parts of the world, but psilocybin, it's everywhere. It's accessible for everyone, no? And that's also something like a plus for me to work with the mushrooms as well.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, for me, the difference between ayahuasca and the psilocybin is a little bit more friendly. For example, a normal journey with ayahuasca works with DMT, yeah, and still, like, the mushrooms work with the psilocybin. It's a different component. It's a different molecule.
Mhm.
And the ayahuasca, it's a journey that lasts kind of like 12 hours, more or less, or more in some cases. And psilocybin from 4 to 7 hours, more or less. Yeah. Also, it's very, I don't like to generalize always because it's very personal experience.
Oh.
But I would always say that the mushrooms are a little bit more friendly. Ayahuasca is the big grandmother of all, for me, the plant medicine, in my experience. Yeah.
Mm.
The mushrooms, it's a little bit more accessible, and it shows you more what you have in the subconscious. Yeah, you can be in that kind of like liminal spot in between the conscious and subconscious world. Rather than in ayahuasca, I was like completely unconscious, completely gone in all my experiences, except the first one I didn't feel anything, but I was in pure meditation. I was fully here. But with the psilocybin, you can work more.
Mm.
So for me, therapeutically speaking, it's much more accessible to do therapy with people with psilocybin because I can talk through it, I can guide a little bit, we can feel emotions, we can see trauma, we can access different memories
Mm.
with much more kind of like control, no? Yeah, than the ayahuasca, I
Yeah,
would
no,
say.
that makes really, really good sense. You've described that beautifully. And for people listening who might, you know, have not heard about the use of mushrooms as a form of medicine,
Mhm.
and imagine that, you know, magic mushrooms are just for, I don't know, taking at a festival and getting high and hugging some trees, you know, we'll go with the stereotypes there. What is it about it that becomes medicinal in your work?
In my work. So, first of all, if you want to have a medicinal, a therapeutic experience, it's all about the set and settings, I would say. It's all about to do it with the right people. You need a facilitator. You need someone there holding space for you. I also took it when I was in New Zealand, like very for party, and that was my first experience with the mushrooms now. And it was super funny experience, but I didn't have any insights. Yeah, I didn't know that you could have insights. I was just like, this is for fun, crazy, amazing. And in the therapeutical world, it's much more intentional. You need an intention. I always like to have an intention for every ceremony that I do with my clients. Have an intention, prepare the set and setting so the person really feels safe. If you're doing it in a party, if you're doing it around a lot of people in a different context, you're not going to feel safe. It's different. You're going to access whatever you can access in a deeper level rather than if you are yeah, in a safe place where you can really let go of any resistance and surrender into the experience and ask, or even the medicine, show me more what I need to see for this deepest healing, or to encounter the love, or to know what's stopping me from having a healthy relationship, or yeah,
Mm.
I love to put the intention. I would say that's my big aim for therapeutic use, to have an intention to take care of the set and setting. If you're doing it with someone, I would suggest you that that person that is holding space for you would have a little bit of knowledge of trauma informed as well, and psychology or counseling or anything that could come up for you in that experience, because
Mm.
it's a very personal experience, and you will feel and you will see and you will encounter with a lot of emotions and deep trauma that you could be holding and you were not able to see before, so it's it's more safe, and it's yeah, I would recommend it much more to have that person next to you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. And I
Mhm.
think that's the key, isn't it? With because we all take, well, we don't all, but a lot of us are used to having medical drugs in our life in some regard. You know, we have a headache, we take some paracetamol or a painkiller. Whereas when it comes to our minds and how we treat our minds, there is such a vast um, plethora of options out there for us, from traditional talk therapy through to eat well and exercise well, and then you're going to feel better. But there is that nervousness when it comes to taking a psychedelic, because of the literature that's been published in the past, because of the way people access it in an unconscious way. Like you mentioned, if we go to a party or a rave or whatever, and we take this substance to escape rather than to connect with ourselves. And I find it fascinating, and obviously I've experienced this myself personally, but the difference between the two. You mentioned earlier about being, a control, like liking to be in control, and that fear of letting go. How did you navigate that, and how do you navigate that when people, like myself, when I first met you, that was my biggest fear, of letting go, of being out of control, of being taken on some bad experience. Yet when I take my paracetamol for my headache, I don't have that fear, because I'm numbing, I'm reducing, whereas this is drawing towards me an experience. So how have you navigated that in the past?
For me, what it really helps, and what I always recommend to all my clients as well, is to embrace everything that comes. Yeah, even if it's fear, even if it's anxiety, even if it's the most uncomfortable feeling that you could ever felt, embrace it. That's why it's beautiful to have someone next to you that could be holding your hand, maybe could be, like just by the presence, that you know that you're safe, that you're with this person. If something happens, because the mind will take you to XYZ events, no, the mind will tell you like you're gonna be crazy, and sometimes you're not gonna ever come back from this craziness, and maybe you're gonna die and you're very scared of dying, and knowing that there's someone there for you in case something happens, an emergency happens, no, it's
Mm.
also good. But I would say embracing with love everything that is coming for you, all that anxiety, all this fear, all this grief and sadness that you didn't want to feel, or maybe the anger that you never allow yourself to feel before, and yeah, embrace it with love, as it is your inner child,
Mm.
no, because it is your inner child. Try to call your attention, and how do we react to that inner child, no, we normally push it away, and we numb it, and we numb it with the pills, with everything that we do, alcohol, pills, or anything. And the inner child, that aspect of you, really wants to grab the attention from you and really wants to feel love and seen and heard, no, so when you take a moment to really feel what's there and you embrace it with love, whatever discomfort is, that eases, and that change, and that will help you to change the flow of the journey that you were in, like that. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. And that is the same for any experience that becomes uncomfortable, right? And like you mentioned the inner child, that if a child wants to hold your hand, and you ignore the child will start to cry, and then the child will get louder, and then the child will scream. And if all at that period you're trying to push that child away, you're going to make the child unhappy, and you're certainly going to feel uncomfortable things by doing that. But there is this fear, and we are taught as adults and parents, and in the kind of social construct of the world, in the polite world, that we are meant to to suppress these feelings, or that perhaps there's some judgment with feeling them. So then when you feel it like in an altered state, when you're on when you've taken the medicine, that can be quite scary. Have you ever experienced fear yourself in journeys?
Totally.
Mm.
All the time.
You're like, bring it on. Where's the fear?
Here, show me more. Yeah. There's always a little bit of fear for me. I'm a very, 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 very sensitive person. Yeah. And as I said before, I used to tend to control a lot. Now I'm much more relaxed with that. But I used to be very controller, and the fear of losing that control was freaking me out. And every experience for me was the medicine of losing control. So
Mm.
in every, not in every, but I would say like 85% of my experiences with the medicine, it's about allowing myself to let go of control and be there. So what was the question? I forgot.
Just if you've ever experienced fear or in your journeys, and you've said 85% of the time, do you still
85%.
experience it,
A
or has it
little bit. And
just?
now I know, and I have my tools now, and I know how to resource myself. So I connect with my breath much more, for example, to anchor myself. There's still that. It will always be, I would say. It never goes away, but there are different resources,
Mhm.
no? So you learn how to, the more you get in touch with yourself, the more you can learn how or which ones are your main resources, yeah, to cultivate that peace, or that, like comfort in the discomfort, I would say.
Mm.
And how to navigate these waves, no, even in psychedelic or even outside psychedelics. Doesn't have to be in the psychedelic, in everyday life. And I used to suffer a lot from panic attacks before, and I wish I would have had all these tools that I have now. And it's the same for any journey. It's the same to connect with yourself. It's the same to really tap into your resources with compassion and love, and accepting everything that is, and know that it's not going to last forever, and it's just temporary, and accept it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that safety, isn't it? Like you said earlier. And if we were to get into a car with someone who was an unsafe driver, and within a few minutes we think this person can't drive very well, and we're going through a ravine and we might fall off the edge and we're going to die, we will have a reaction to that, most of us. And it's the same for a conscious journey with a medicine. If you have created a space which is safe, have a facilitator like yourself that knows what that person needs in terms of holding their hand, or being present, being sober, and not also being altered themselves, these all affect for a safer journey. I remember once, and before I myself went into the psychedelic journeys and experiences and world myself, being told there is no such thing as a bad trip or a bad journey. And that
I
kind of blew my mind. I was like, what? We've all heard the horror stories where you get stuck in some kind of Groundhog Day time loop, or, with the old fashioned LSD trips, you're going to jump off the roof because you think you can fly. And, like, so what does that mean in terms of there is no bad journey?
For me, it's not bad journey. For me, it's just pure resistance or challenges coming up. But all these challenges or these resistances are showing an aspect of you that it needs to come up. No, the subconscious mind, it's showing you something that you couldn't see before, and that must be very frightening for some people. No, and yeah, and we resist to see it, and that's when we create these like dense, heavy experiences ourselves. No? The more you resist, the more it persists, I
Mhm.
would say. Yeah. Yeah. And for me also, like my first experience with ayahuasca, as I said, the first ceremony, I didn't feel anything. The second ceremony, it was nightmare, nightmare. And I got really traumatized from that experience. And it took me a few years after to really say yes again, and because the person that was holding space for me there was not maybe the way that they were holding space was very masculine. So they were just sitting down, the shamans there, they were not very interacting with us, no, just holding space energetically. And I needed a hand and I needed a hug and I needed to feel physically safe, no? And I was completely outside my body, watching everyone around me, and I couldn't move my body. And I was like, I'm dead, you know? And that for me was so traumatizing, not to have that experience of like being held and being looked after, you know, and I felt completely abandoned and rejected by the shaman. And that really, at the same time, it was a horrible experience for me. I realized that it showed me so much more of my wounds. And I realized that I had a deep wound of being abandoned and being rejected. And I connected that with my father when he divorced with my, so, you know, so all these experiences, that's why I would say like, there is no bad trip. There is no bad trip. There are difficult journeys, yes or yes. There are difficult journeys, but all these difficult journeys, they have a big, big pearl inside, hidden. And that's the work that we need to do as well. No, the inquiry. Okay, what did I get out of this experience? No, and why the medicine wanted to show me this type of experience, and wanted to me to feel the way that I felt, no? And how can I connect that to my past or to my other experiences or my trauma? Ah, okay, and that, boom, click. So that's why for me, working with the medicine is very, very important to have integration session after. Not just the ceremony itself, but also what we encounter in the integration. That's also like the cherry of the cake. Sometimes there's much more information throughout the integration session than the ceremony itself. No, all the insights and all the big learnings as well are later. Yeah,
You
yeah,
speak about that nightmare, you speak about that darkness, but with mental well-being or mental health or mental um, evolution or safety, there has to be balance. That where there is dark, you cannot have darkness without light, and where there is pain, there is love and there is joy, and you have to have the two working together. Whereas I think on our physical plane, we associate pain with something negative. You know, if my hand is broken, I need to fix it because I'd quite like to be able to use my hand. Whereas I feel I personally, in a lot of my life and my upbringing, always associated mental pain with something negative and that I should push it away. But actually, as you said, from your second ayahuasca experience, that nightmare journey was a reflection of your own wounds that needed to be healed. But that's very confronting and very challenging. And it must be incredibly emotionally at times draining for you to work with people who are going through these processes. What is it that, you know, inspires you to get up every day and do this work?
exactly that. I love to navigate with people throughout their darkness moments, and then show them the light inside and show them this balance. There's no light without the darkness, and there's no dark without the light. So yeah, I think my biggest passion is to really do this work. So I wake up every morning when I have clients in such a joy and such a, yeah, open hearted. So yeah, I love it. I love it. I love to help people to transform and to transcend whatever is there for them, to transcend the suffering and to alchemize that suffering into joy or into self acceptance, into inner love. And yeah.
And
Mm.
so if someone's listening to this and thinking, well, they may be thinking a number of things, but one thing people might be thinking is, how do I get into this line of work? You know, I enjoy psychology, perhaps I'm thinking of becoming a therapist, you know, the psychedelic world does interest me. What would be your three top tips for someone who wanted to access this world professionally and do what you're doing?
Mhm. So from my own experience and what I've been seeing throughout these last years as well, there's a lot of people facilitating psychedelics in general. Here in Portugal, there's a lot of people doing that. And some of them, they don't have the ethics, no, that, for example, the career of psychology help you to implement as well in a safe journey, no, when you're dealing with mental disease and yeah, anything that come up on trauma. So I think I would recommend everyone to do a course on counseling or trauma informed course or psychology if they can. I know psychology is it's a long career, but anything involved with mental health, I would totally recommend if you want to start with this journey. Now, before you facilitate this to others, I will recommend also to have your own experience with the plant medicine. Yes. And then also to have a course. There are many courses nowadays to hold space and how to hold space and how to hold psychedelic journeys for others, trauma informed. And yeah, something that also can be there. It's like not thinking about that so much, but also like connecting with heart to heart, no? Like how to do your inner self work as well, your personal growth, and how to connect mindfully with yourself and others, so it can really help you to navigate together this deep, deep, deep healing journey that it's with working with psychedelics. So anything that you can do to self-develop yourself, to connect with yourself, more mindful practices, meditation, anything that can help you to enhance that spiritual connection within yourself also will help you to connect with others as well. So I feel that's very, very important to become a facilitator.
Yeah, very valuable. And I'm going to flip the question, and someone might be listening to this and think, I would like to experience this for myself. So what would be the three things, you mentioned that in Portugal that a lot of people are facilitating and not necessarily having the training and qualifications to support the work. What would be the three things that someone should look for when they are looking to work with a facilitator or a company that offers this type of practice?
I would say experience, yeah, the years of experience. I would say also the educational background that they have. And I'm a very energetic person, so for me, it's always important to have that personal face-to-face meeting beforehand, before going or yeah, embarking in a type of healing like this with someone, no? Because it's your life. So you're kind of like risking your life to someone that you don't even know. So for me, it's very important to have that connection first. Yeah, to feel the safety in this conversation, like now, for example. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we spoke about a nightmare experience, but just to lighten the tone slightly,
Yeah.
in all your years and moments and experiences with people, are there any, and I'm sure there have been many, but are there any funny or unusual stories that you can share about your time working as a facilitator?
Like funny. I don't have many funny because it's very deep. So it's like more beautiful moments, like mystical, transformative moments, I would say. I think I have only one very funny, and it was when you were there in the retreat.
The,
I
the
think that's
banana moment?
banana moment. I think that's the most funniest moment ever that I ever had throughout my years. Like really. Um, you can tell it if you
Oh,
want.
but I'm intrigued to know it from your perspective as well. I think because there's going to be two. I was on my journey when the banana moment happened. So
Beautiful.
tell me
I'm
your
not,
experience
yeah,
from it, and then I'll echo with mine.
yeah, I'm not gonna say names or anything, of
Cool.
course. But we had a participant that it was very in a very deep moment, no, reconnecting with their inner child and going into a very difficult moment of the childhood that she realized that she was not fed with love and ideally also with food, no, itself. So at the moment, um, the participant came to me and asked me for food, no, and at the moment we had just bananas and some nuts. So I told her we have bananas or nuts, and she was like, banana, please, banana. So okay, so I went there and I took some bananas, and she had the first banana and she loved it, and she was eating this banana with so much devotion, like she never had a banana in her life. And then she was like, no, give me the other banana, please. And I was like, okay. So she started eating the other one. And then she started eating the other one. And then I look at her and her whole face was full of banana, no? Just that was so funny. But I found it so funny, but so cute. I was like, oh my God. She really looked like this child, no? Like so excited to eat this banana, but really eating it from deep within their soul. Like the soul was eating this banana, no? It was not this body. And then the whole group started with the banana thing, and then like the whole thing was banana, and everybody was saying banana, and it was so much laughter in the room, and yeah. And then it became the thing. It became our banana group, and then you did this beautiful tattoo of the
Tattoo. I know.
banana.
I have the laughing banana on my ankle to forever remember that moment because I was at the time next to that person on a mattress just next to them in the room. And I was in a deep part of my journey, and sort of I think at this point I was drifting in the solar systems and seeing Earth and life and connection and like going on my incredible journey. And I remember hearing um I wasn't aware of her process with the eating because during these journeys we dip in and out of kind of reality, like you mentioned earlier. And so I wasn't aware that that was going on right next to me. And then I heard a male participant's voice on the other side of the room say, there are bananas everywhere. And immediately I am just kind of brought back down to earth. And I just imagined like bananas everywhere in the room. And it was the most ridiculous thing that I could possibly have been brought back to when I'm, contemplating life and existence itself.
So
And I
funny.
just got the giggles. And at that point, the wave of laughter as it went across the room, and people were just talking about bananas constantly. And then we kept seeing bananas, like that. There were these symbols appearing, as in, back when we were in reality. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I then flew back eventually from Holland, and my family came to pick me up at the airport, and my husband and my son came to get me, and I had bought a few little things from the airport for my son, who was 7, 8 at the time, a little bit younger, and he walked up to me in the airport, and I kid you not, he said, "Mummy, is that a banana in your bag?" And I didn't know what to say. I was like, "What? No, no, this is Lego. Like, I have not bought you a banana." And it was the first thing he
Wow.
said. And I just, like, how the universe and the connections work. And then, yes, of course, my banana tattoo, which I had done with the woman that you
Yes.
mentioned. We went to get the tattoos together. And yeah, many strange things continue to happen around that. But yeah, that was a brilliant moment. I'm so honored that that was the funniest
You
moment.
were, yeah, you were inside my, yeah, of course, that experience. Yes or yes. That was the best.
And you've spoken a lot about holistic aspects, your yoga, your energy healing, all of the somatic dance. What do you do when you're not working? Are you dancing on the hills, you know, celebrating the goddess? What do you do
Yes,
for downtime? Okay, that's what
exactly
you're doing.
that.
Isn't that what we all do?
I love reading books. I have many books. I love learning. I'm constantly learning, and yeah, and I love music. So I love connect with music with a nice tone there, and then read my book. I love dancing, and yeah, yoga. I do more yoga when I'm teaching, actually. At home, yes, I do yoga, but it's more the dancing, it's more that the free flow, it's more the music, it's more relaxing, reading. I love all that. I love nature. So when I have a chance to go to nature, I'm in nature, outside connecting and yeah, being. Yes,
And
I
what
love
makes
that.
you curious? What makes you want to learn more about this world?
Mysticism. I love that. Yeah, yeah. I love, and now that I was like in this beautiful retreat last week, I went to a retreat in the UK, and it was all about the mysticism of Avalon, and I was never there before, so it was my first time, And I remember since I was like, it brought me a lot of memories since I was a child, like doing all these rituals since very, very little with my friends, picking things from nature and doing these like potions and playing like to be the witch. I love that. And I still love it. And I love everything that is mystical. And I love how mysticism as well, it's a big portal to encounter with yourself and to learn from yourself and to learn from existence and life itself. And that's for me, it's like the most, yeah, intriguing thing of all of them,
Mhm.
to explore life itself. Yeah.
And I think often when I speak with incredible people like yourself and people who have had a life of this holistic spiritual awareness and awakening and gravitas towards, often I'm confronted with an ideal that they are in some way superhuman, that they have this, they've got it all figured out. And sometimes I personally have a resistance to the kind of the hippy dippy, the kind of like the otherness, because I'm not particularly religious, although having done my psychedelic experiences with you and with other people, I believe in the power of Mother Nature and the earth and the life force in a very different way, and have become more spiritual because of it. But from a human perspective, is there anything that shocks you or makes you feel uncomfortable, and how do you deal with that on a daily life?
From a human perspective, something that makes me feel uncomfortable. Hmm, I would say within my work, as a therapist as well. Like when there are, for example, I have big challenges sometimes when people project their things into me. And I'm like, okay, this is not me. Okay, so I have to really sit down and digest that. Okay, it's their projection, it's not mine. I don't have to take it personal. And that it's, yeah, that would be like very challenging for me still until now. And sometimes when they project, especially like romantic, fantasies within me, I'm like, or they invite me for dinner, and I'm like, wow, I feel like,
Mm.
why, it's like, I'm just here helping you with all my heart. And then of course, like, they can misunderstand that love, and because they aim for love and they want love, and then they take it as like I want something else with them. And I'm like, that
Mm.
like touches my heart. No, it's like, that would be like my challenge in the work that I do, I
Mm.
would say, as a
Mm.
human. Yeah,
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
feel that those predictions can hit me sometimes hard. Yeah.
I
Mm.
remember my mother, who I brought, of course, to you, and she recounted a story how in the space when she was on her journey, she remembered looking at one of the male facilitators and having quite a lot of anger towards him and irritation. And he recounted how he received that, but knew at the time it was directed at him, but it wasn't about him. It was about my mother at that point. And that's a fascinating construct for us to wrap our head around, because in every part of daily life, people project onto us. We all do it. We don't get a service we want at a shop and we're irritated by that person. Well, why are we irritated? Because we haven't got the service we were expecting in our heads to receive. But what is
Mm.
that service? We've created a reality around it, and we all, as human beings, create our realities for our own
So
construct
much.
in our head. And
Yeah.
then you as a therapist, as a guide, have to unpick that and then do work with yourself to handle that. And that's intense.
That's challenging. Yeah. Still. That's when my humanness, completely humanness and wounded self also comes up. It's like, oh,
Mm.
phew. Like, okay,
Yeah.
center. Okay, then
Mm.
take it personal. Yes.
And going back to exactly what you said about doing the work for yourself, that was your third, sort of
That's
pillar.
a big part. That's
Have
a
to
big part
continue to
because
work on yourself.
yeah, like speaking from my own experience as well, I've seen a lot of therapists or facilitators doing this work and really taking it personally and having a discussion with the person that it's like in the journey because they said something against them. I'm like, oh, you cannot do that, you know? Like that's why it's very important that you do this inner work first. Yes.
And you've
Yeah.
mentioned you were born in Chile, you lived in New Zealand, you now live in Portugal. You travel a lot. I mean, do you regularly travel? How do you integrate that with your life and your work?
So normally now that I'm working abroad, I we do these group retreats in the Netherlands. So I have to travel 4 or 5 times per year to the Netherlands, and it's okay because it's not too long. It takes me like 10 days in total, more or less. Um, and I love traveling. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm always like adventurous. I don't know if you know a little bit more of astrology. But as Sagittarius, we love adventures, we love traveling. So that was always a big part of my life. So it's really comfortable for me to travel. The only thing that with the years now, I love when I land at home and I'm like, oh, finally, I'm at home, you know? I can feel the difference from before when I was younger. I was like, I don't mind, you know, but now I'm like, oh, I'm aiming for my bed. I'm aiming for my home, you know, and also I have a cat. So that's my challenge also, like to travel and be outside too much and leave my cat by herself. But she's never by herself. She's with my beautiful neighbors that I have. But yeah. Yeah, I love traveling. I'm doing a lot of, for example, festivals or participating in festivals or going to festivals myself, not just to facilitate, but also, and they are abroad. Some are in Poland. Now I'm going to the UK again. And yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And you speak about challenges, you know, the plant medicine that you work with and mental health, you know, we all, of course, remember the pandemic, which is still in some aspects having major impacts on people's mental health for the traumas they went through at the time. In the UK, we've had Brexit, we've had a cost of living crisis, which has affected, you know, global markets. How have you seen the shift with your, I mean, personally, how were you affected by those changes in the years? And how also has it impacted the, the people seeking out the use of plant medicine? Have you seen a shift within that?
I saw it when we were in lockdown. Yes, it hit me hard. And I was not having any clients at the moment. Everyone was super in scarcity, I would say. Like everyone was like holding back because we didn't know what was going to happen. The whole world stopped. And yeah, so my work stopped as well. And I moved like a year before to Portugal. So I was like, oh my God, what am I doing now? And I just moved to this new house that I was living by then when we had our first lockdown. And I was very anxious at the moment, I would say. Yes, I'm very scared that I didn't know what to do, to leave Portugal again or stay here. But a voice inside of me was like, okay, you know, like you have to stay here. And like stay here, trust. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And I was making like nothing, like 100 euros per month, you know, doing yoga classes online, not many people coming online either. So I was like, what do I do? And I started like with my resilience. I was like, okay, I need to do something different. And I did my massage course training, for example, throughout those, you know, because I needed more tools. I needed to access people that didn't have the the funds or anything to come to a psilocybin therapy, you know, or to yoga, or you know. So I was like, I need to do different things, and I was doing therapy for free for other clients that didn't have the resources, no. So I was just trusting, and yeah, but it hit me hard, like for a whole year, and it was just in the moment when I was kind of like adapting here in Portugal. I just moved to Portugal, so it was very challenging for me as well. Yeah, yeah, to persevere, like to really stay here and know that this shall pass as well. I think that was my big mantra for myself, and trust. Yeah, and do the things, not to have a response, or yeah, not to expect anything from others, but just because of your devotion and because of your love. No, do everything from your heart. Yeah, and that's
And
what
do
I
you
said.
point that struggle personally and also worldwide to a shift in more people wanting to access plant medicine now? Because definitely in the last few years, it seems that
I would say,
slowly people are becoming more vocal with their platforms. You know, there's more universities that are doing research, and slowly countries are starting to wake up and decriminalize and take, you know, action and understand that these plants have its place in medicine formally, and that people should be able to access them in a safe and legal way.
yeah, yeah, totally. After the pandemic, everything started rising as well. Like, I had so many clients coming to psychedelic experiences with me here, because there was a lot of people that were suffering from depression throughout the years of lockdown, and yeah, it really hit the mental wellness, I would say, world. So there was a lot of people suffering from anxiety, panic attacks constantly, PTSD. So many things happened because we were hit big time. You know, many people lost their jobs, and then there were like this big opening and a lot of more information about plant medicine, and then Job Hopkins Institute doing much more research, and people were like more able and more open to receive this information as well. No, so yeah, I think there's a big shift, and it's increasing, increasing, and increasing, and increasing with the years, actually. Yeah, since then and now.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and I am tracking with eagerness how things will shift in the United Kingdom. I'm very hopeful that it will continue to. If you could look back at your life and give some advice to your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
My 18-year-old self, she was in the first year of the university, um, in a very complicated relationship, of course, before. And yeah, I would say to her, mm, like, keep going. Try not to take things so much personal, because at that age you take everything personally. Oh my God, everything is around you and for you, and there's a lot of ego when you are 18 years old, and that's okay. It's normal. No, it's part of our personal development as well. Um, but I would say, yeah, try to be authentic and love yourself. Yeah, embrace yourself more. Yeah, don't reject yourself so much, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I
But
have
do
a few. Sorry, Karen.
I said do everything that you did, because that made me the person that I am today. So I'm very proud of my 18-year-old
Good.
woman. Yes. Yeah.
I have a few more questions for you, but before I even though I can speak to you all day, but before I ask my final few questions, I have a quick fire rapid question round. So I am going to say two words. I would like you to give me the word that you feel most connected and drawn to. You don't need to give me an explanation. You don't need to think about it for too long. Just pick one of the two words. You can't have both of them.
Right.
Okay. You
Mm.
ready?
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Morning or night?
Morning.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Netflix or party?
Netflix.
Pizza or burger?
Pizza or burger? Pizza.
Rain or sun?
Sun.
Fast or slow?
Oh my God. Both. Okay, slow.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Eggs or bacon?
Eggs.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Texting or calling?
Calling.
Today or tomorrow?
Today.
Thank you.
Hmm.
So we've spoken quite a lot about your holistic approaches, your energy, your calling to somatic dance, your spirituality. But How have you found that your personal spirituality and your development and awareness of this has influenced your life and your work?
I feel spirituality is everything for me. Spirituality for me, in my experience, is the connection that we have with spirit. No, so the moment that I started feeling spirit and connecting and knowing that there's spirit, not just what I was told when I was little, that is kind of like outside you but not in you. Um, yeah, it's like it's a real connection with devotion, with open heart, and I put all that into everything that I do. So every work that I do, even if it's like something, a task that I don't like, I do it with the best of my abilities, with the most devotional aspect that I could give. And yeah, I think it's in everything. Spirituality, some people get like really like, no, I don't want to hear more. That's word. Spirituality is way too much. And I understand now nowadays it's like, come on, like really. And also there's a lot of spiritual bypassing at the same time. Yeah, taking advantage of the spiritual world. And if you're grounded, if you're aligned and you're connected, you really get in touch with your spirit and you can do everything in a spiritual form. So yeah, I would say I put that into my everyday life, and that's a big part of my success. I would say,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
And speaking of success, without failure, we cannot have success. We have to always have the balance, of course. But
So
what is success for you? What do you think it takes to be successful without focusing on the failure for a moment?
I would say like a summary of my experience of my life, like to be devotional, to do things from the heart without expecting anything from the others. Uh, to really find your passion instead of like focusing in how much money I'm gonna get or anything. Like find something that really ignites the passion inside of you and do it from that passion, from that heart, from that devotion. No, um, yeah, I think that would really guarantee success and doing the best things that you can. Yeah, and that's we call it in yoga karma yoga. Do everything with the best of your abilities, not not getting attached with any response or not getting attached with the results. No, just do it. Yeah. And also something that I can add is try to, I know it's hard sometimes, but try to detach from the identity. I am this, no, I am that. No, we are spirit. We are all human beings, and that's it. So detachment, passion, devotion, love, heart. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank
Mm.
you, Connie. So for everyone who's listening and watching this, if you want to come and find Connie, you can find her at her website. Her website is Cony, Cony, Faine, Faine.com. Her website is Connie Faine, ConyFaine.com. Her Instagram is Cony, Cony.love.therapy.
Yeah.
Connie, it has been amazing to speak with you. The joy, the enthusiasm, and the gift that you give to people with your energy and your talent and your love is always profound. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for speaking to everyone who's listening, and thank you for being you.
Mm, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for holding space. And yeah, it was a pleasure to be with you and to also to speak my truth and to bring this to other people. Now, to I hope I touch some of the other beings there listening a little bit of their soul and their heart. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this. Mm.